What's up, Titans Nation? In case you already know, I am a Titans fan. Well, that's really obvious if you see my other videos. So I just decided, why not? Why not do a little what if? All right. Today I'll be making a little movie based off my favorite team, the Tennessee Titans. It's not going to be football related though. It's just going to be like it's just kind of going to be like making a movie about Titans fans, and it's not going to be about football. We're just going to call them Titans. Like, they're basically going to. It's what the Titans are named after, basically. I'm just going to make like a little POV of like Titans hero group, kind of like my own Avengers spinoff. So, let's hop into it. So basically, there's these group of friends. They're all 16 years old. They're in the 10th grade. They've just got their ability to drive, and of course they're all Titans fans. However, like, they're kind of just stubborn 10th graders. Are known to be troublemakers. They've gotten into a lot of fights in and out of school, and they're actually like just barely getting by. Like, they've tried getting out of things, trying to try joining a gang, trying making all kinds of stuff. However, they're struggling in school financially. They can't get a job, so basically just lots of struggles. Anyway, so they're tired of being tossed around, and eventually they make a plan to break into a science lab. And in this science lab, they're making like lots of experiments. They're trying to make a vaccine to take away your biggest fears and turn them into your biggest strengths. So basically, they all have different things that can always stop them. Like, one's afraid of shadows in the dark, the other's afraid of storms and just winds, and the other is just scared of somebody that's stronger than them, like an authority figure. So they all make this master plan to break in. One is able to distract the guards, tries running away, has a steel bat, tries knocking out some of the scientists. Then the other two, they go in, they grab three of the like serums, like the vaccines. Anyways, they're all able to escape though. However, they still got like the cops chasing after them. So once they're able to find the spot to hide for like a minute or so, they each take the vaccine. One ends up falling into his own shadow and learns how to master and control shadows. The other ends up just going up to the air like on his own. He just flies up to the air and learns how to master wind. And then the other one passes out, and then he gets spoken to that, and then he ends up like, while he's passed out in his dream, learning about his strengths, about what to do, and how he should be responsible with his new powers. And he learns how to get super strength, super speed, teleportation, and he can make clones of his own self. So basically, he's has the strength to lead the group. He's the strongest one, and he has a responsibility to always protect the world. Anyway, so there's another science experiment going on in an underground, like, science lab made by an evil genius that's conducted a project to destroy the world. This is the third one he's made, and it's successful. It's called Project 3. It puts the town in danger. However, the new kids, they end up learning how to use their powers and they're able to take him down with ease. However, fast forward 3 years later, the main character, we'll call him Matthew, the one who was taken on and chosen. They all have their names, by the way. The one that learns how to... The person that can master shadows goes by Shadow Slayer. The person that can master the wind and being able to use the wind ability to throw things is called the Wind Warrior. And the main one is Titan. He just goes by Titan. And they all make up the team that named the Titans, because that's led by the Titan. And they're all strong, of course. Like, sure, Titan may be able to literally, Titan could literally, probably be able, to pick up a plane with, one hand with ease. However, the other two are both really strong, too. They could probably have, they could be able to, stop a train with, ease. They're all strong. And Shadow Slayers, his ability is just able, to... one is able to, make... Shadow Slayer is able to make weapons out of his own, shadows, and then the Wind Warrior is able, to make weapons out of wind. Basically, Shadow Slayer could just make, an own pickaxe out of, shadows from the ground and just use it, to cut open buildings and stuff. Anyway, so Titan, the main hero, lets the power get to his mind and he starts destroying Earth. It all comes down to the Wind Warrior and the Shadow Slayer to stop him. It takes a lot of hard work, however. Shadow Slayer is able to trap him with all the shadows from the underground and trying to force him into his own shadow. However, he's strong and he's fighting it. Shadow Slayer takes his own, makes a pickaxe out of shadow, and he's getting ready to slice off Titan's head and kill him. However, Wind Warrior pushes him away with wind. He tries stopping Shadow Slayer, saying that even though Titan's evil, he's still our friend and we should spare him. Anyway, so Wind Warrior is making tornadoes to fight off Shadow Slayer, trying to do all they can. They're fighting everywhere using their strength, making their own weapons and using it to fight each other out of their own elements they mastered, and just being able to use all the energy, all the fighting they can, and take out all of their energy. And eventually it's where the Wind Warrior is able to get the upper hand, starting to drag Shadow Slayer on his ground. Even though Shadow Slayer uses all of the shadows on Earth to help him, it's still not enough for Wind Warrior's Master of Elements. He pins Shadow Slayer against a building. Then Shadow Slayer takes up the shadow of the building, dumps it onto the Wind Warrior, jumps into his own shadow and escapes. And while he's escaping, the Titan is able to get out of the shadow stuff and just teleport away. And then the Wind Warrior wakes up and sees that his two best friends have left him. So now it's Wind Warrior vowing, and now 4 years later, Wind Warrior's 23, protecting the city from thieves, serial killers, criminals, crashing planes, crashing trains, car crashes, all of that. He's here to protect the world, and he's kind of became the hero. Meanwhile, Shadow Slayer and not Wind Warrior, Titan had just gone off to live on their own in unknown places. And while the Wind Warrior was protecting the world, that secret underground science lab was making the strongest fiend in the entire universe. Project, like the strongest being on planet Earth. An irresistible force that will demolish everything in its path. They kept making new projects to get the right one, and eventually it was the 7th one, so it was Project 7. That's a really cool design. I mean, I put Sentinel Prime because just look at his design. The best character design ever. So I'm basically just trying to say Project 7 looks like him, except like navy colored, no wings, and like bright blue eyes that would blast laser vision. So kind of like that. And eventually he would be released. Anyways, Project 7 comes, destroys the world. Wind Warrior tries stopping him. However, Project 7 has laser vision that could literally cut open to an airplane in just like half a second. Like just half a second of blasting laser vision. It could like destroy grounds, planes, cities. With only like a few seconds could destroy like armies, even states with just like a few seconds of blasting his laser vision. He has strength where he could crush a human skull with 2 fingers, barely using any force. He could open up the Earth's core with just 1 punch to the ground. He's an unstoppable force. His body he can make his body phase through objects. And he's really fast too. When Warrior tries all the attacks, it does no damage. Project 7 just does a little push, and then it pushes Wind Warrior all the way into a whole nother state. Now Wind Warrior realizes he cannot fight off this guy himself. He just pushed him into another state with barely using any force. So he realizes he needs some help. So he has to go to get Shadow Slayer and, of course, Titan. Anyways, Wind Warrior goes up to Shadow Slayer trying to request him for a mission he can't do on his own. Shadow Slayer's tired of Wind Warrior, and he says that, how about this? If Wind Warrior can beat him in a fight, Shadow Slayer will join him in his mission to take down Project 7. However, if he beats Wind Warrior in a fight, then Wind Warrior will be forced to join Shadow Slayer's army of shadows. So that's how Shadow Slayer can kind of be, like once he gets all the shadows and transforms his body into like whatever he wants. So anyways, they power up, they go fights, colliding through buildings, firing everywhere. However, Wind Warrior's getting the upper hand after a few minutes of fighting. He's able to start throwing him through buildings all across the world, pins him up to another building again, and Shadow Slayer tries using the technique he did last time to beat him, making the shadow of the building fly onto the Wind Warrior. However, he's been in this situation before and he learned. This time he uses his power of wind to block the shadow of the building, put it back into the shadow, grab Shadow Slayer, choke him out up into the air, and then Shadow Slayer has nothing else to do but to join the Winter Warriors Rebellion. Anyways though, Wind Warrior, Shadow Slayer tells Wind Warrior He's ready to get this over with. However, Wind Warrior tells him that there's one step left. They have to go to Titan. And this makes Shadow Slayer mad because Titan just has such an ego. He's annoying. He wants to rule the whole world for himself. And if he can't, then he just lives his own life. Like, this is why he's living unknown, because if he can't rule the world, then he just doesn't care. So basically, Wind Warrior gets Shadow Slayer to go see Titan since, he won the battle, Wind Warrior. Anyways, then they go to Titan. Titan's kind of like glazing up himself, saying that he's the strongest in the universe and nothing's stronger than him. And Titan says that if Project 7 is that strong, and he says, alright, I'll go and fight him to solidify myself as the strongest in the universe. However, if he turns out not to be nearly as strong as me, which he probably is, because I'm the strongest in the universe, I'm quoting on Titan, by the way, then he says that he'll make sure to get rid of you both. So it's a deal. They all go. They all do their power-ups. Shadow Slayer gets his Shadow Army. The Wind Warrior makes his power-ups to gun like full ability of the winds. And, well, Titan just is able to multiply himself, like tons of himself, with different, like, all lined up behind the real one. That's kind of like his ability to play tricks. And they all line up ready to fight Project Shadow. So, all the Titans come after Project 7. Titan is way too overconfident. He tries getting out his best attacks, using his super strength to throw tons of buildings at him, punching at him, doing everything he can. However, eventually it's just not enough. It barely even moves Project 7. As Project 7 ends up taking Titan and just pushing him, and then he flies through tons of buildings. Then after that, Shadow Slayer tries attacking him. However, it's useless, as just one little blast from Project 7 is able to get Shadow Slayer on the ground, barely breathing out air. Wind Warrior tries his attacks, however, it's useless against Project 7. And now Titan saw his true strength. Now they realize that they all need to come together at once as a team to take down the strongest one. Wind Warrior uses his ability to fight in the air and use all of his attacks in the air. Titan uses his pure strength, speed, and just other abilities against Project 7, and Shadow Slayer uses his power of shadows to fight Project 7. However, it barely is even able to stun Project 7. Titan, who is the strongest warrior in the universe by far. Anyways, as we see Project 7 unlocking his true power, as we can see light blue rings all flow around his chest as he's able to use his gamma radiation to just boom, literally shock the entire, literally just the power of him powering up is able to throw buildings all the way to the ground, to bust a hole open into the earth as he's taking them down with ease. Titan's trying all of his attacks, running full fist, and eventually it's just not enough. It's slowly damaging Project 7, the strength of Titan. And eventually, Titan just gets so fed up. He was the strongest in the universe. Project 7 has Shadow Slayer down to the ground. Winter Warrior is barely even alive. Project 7's about to take his two fingers and break open Project 7's skull. as Titan's on the ground, as he takes one last punch, he teleports all the way to another planet, then runs full speed, dashes in, takes his final punch, aims right for the head of Project 7, is able to bust open his helmet. As Titans is able to rip off his helmet, it's broken into pieces. And as the helmet is off, you can see that it is a young kid who is like dead. The gamma radiation has got to him, as we see a person watching from a distance. As this person, the kid who was forced into that, looks like he was abducted, no longer than 6 years old, as we see the whole world, like everyone in the city watching, including a person from distance, who you'll see in the post-credit scenes. Not trying to give any spoilers, though. Anyways, as they see that, Shadow Slayer is able to use the power of shadows, to forge the helmet back into one piece. It's Project 7 with the dead man sticking out, as we can see that the body, like the suit, is in full control and was programmed to this. All it needed was a person for it to get its power to start roaming around. And anyways, the Wind Warrior. And after that, the Project 7 is able to push Project 7 into another city just with a flick of a finger, and Shadow Slayer flies into a whole nother state. That's just the power. That's how strong he is. And then flicks Titan away with a finger. Then, as Wind Warrior's here with the helmet, he realizes that this gamma radiation will kill him. The power is so strong, it could kill anyone just with the power of that gamma radiation. However, realizing that seeing that he's made a whole team of heroes, has formed his best friends and was able to see them again. He can't feel except happy for what he's accomplished, as this world has found a pair of two heroes they used to have. As he puts on the helmet, feels the gamma radiation, as all of that gamma radiation goes through one of the strongest warriors in the universe's body, as where he can't even move. He sees Project 7 flying towards him as he lands to strike with the lasers, flying at him, and as Titan's armor, the strongest, Project 7's armor, where Titan couldn't even break through it. Till the end, it's able to just melt away, as Project 7 says, "This isn't the last of me," as he falls down all the way into Earth's core. And as Titan goes up, uses all of his strength to bust open the helmet once again, as Shadow Slayer heals his broken hand. We see the Wind Warrior barely alive, about to die from all the gamma radiation, as his two best friends crowd around him, as Wind Warrior says. As the Wind Warrior, broken down, barely any energy left, mumbles out the words, "This world was the house I built, that I made while protecting it when you were gone. And now I'm giving you the keys. It was a fun ride. However, this world has a new group of heroes to protect them. You are the Titans." As he passes out from the gamma radiation, we find the new heroes to protect the world, Titan and Shadow Slayer, making the Titans. as Project 7, who was made from the power of the Earth's core, has disintegrated back into a part of Earth's core. As it's just roaming around Earth's core and unable to get out, is just like a piece of the Earth's core, like the lava part, you know. The Titans they're able to discover the underground lair, you know, using Shadow Slayer's ability to track down everyone's shadows. And they find out that the scientist, the evil genius that made Project 7 is now gone. It turns out, you know, he's off the grid, and he's living in an area he's living in like a cold area with no shadows, where the Shadow Slayer can't even track him down because there's just no shadows. It's just all dark. So then the mad scientist is able going away. And then, as that person earlier that I told you about, who saw the corpse of that person, was actually his brother. He was able to recognize his face. They got separated, and his brother got abducted by the group of mad scientists that turned him into Project 7. Joshua Johnson, they were separated. They are twins with Jordan Johnson, his brother, who got turned into, you know, the Project 7. They are separated by a horrible earthquake, abducted by the mad scientist. Like I said, he's there. He's grieving the loss, finding out that the Titans have killed his brother while in his imagination. So frustrated, grieving it, and he realizes that he needs to stop them. As before the movie ends, we see a clip of Joshua Johnson. I mean, not Joshua Johnson, as we see a clip of the mad scientist, we'll call him Dr. Doomsday, secretly spying on the world through secret cameras, and seeing Joshua Johnson's anger and depression as the movie ends. The end. Timed up, Titans Nation. Have a wonderful day, and always remember that Jesus loves you.